It's a pleasant good afternoon to you. I know you were waiting for a little bit. Running a little bit late this afternoon, but we won't dwell on the negative. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday so far. This is Big G, and right beside me is Mr. B. And this is another episode of Sunday Scoops.
Ballad dread.
I really ballad dread for true. But today we have something wonderful for you. We have something special in store. And there's a man called Junior Byles.
Yeah, Junior Byles.
Government name.
Yeah. Was it Kenneth? Kenneth Byles. It's interesting though that we have people like Junior Byles who has contributed so much to the music, especially in that early years. When you talk about a man who, as a Rastafarian in the early days, devout, committed Rastaman, and so when I talk about how his beliefs largely influenced his music, and how his music influenced the generation of Jamaicans and reggae music lovers over the years. To your point, as you said earlier, God, we had in fact done a show on Junior Byles.
Yeah, it was our
some long time
20th
ago.
episode, and we had placed him right alongside Jacob Miller.
Right. So it was a sort of a truncated episode. Today we want to dive deeper into his work and the man himself. One of the big voices that came out of Jamaica in that late 1960s, 1970s period.
Yeah.
And so we're going to spend some time talking about that.
Yeah, a man born 76 years ago, July 17, 1948, as Kenneth Byles, otherwise known as Chubby Byles. Jamaica, when you have on a little weight, people call you Chubby,
Born at Victoria Jubilee Hospital, what they call Line-In, Victoria Jubilee Line-In Hospital. And he grew up in Jonestown, as you pointed out to God. Based on him carrying a little weight as a youth, they referred to him as Chubby. But to a large extent, he bore the junior came from the fact that he was a junior to his father, Kenneth Byles, and I guess everybody referred to him as Junior, and that just stuck with him throughout his entire life.
The interesting thing, he's known mostly for his, I would say, 3 hit songs, big hit songs.
Beat Down Babylon.
Beat Down Babylon.
Fade Away.
Fade Away. And Curly Locks.
The anthem. No, you have to give it the proper title. The anthem.
Fade Away is the anthem to say.
No, Fade Away, that's another whole different class. So to go to your point. But the man has a significant catalog. Significant catalog of music, because and a lot of we look at that in 2 different segments. There was in his early years he had teamed up with a couple of guys to form a group called the Versatiles, and so a big big part of his catalog is with the Versatiles, where he was doing a little bit of what we call that pseudo ska as it transitioned into rocksteady. Some rocksteady and reggae, and some pretty good music.
Started out in 1967. He would have been about 19 years old at the time. Yes. And one of the early hits as a group was a song called The Time Has Come. This was released in 1967.
I think this song was a festival song, right? He had entered this.
No, he had a couple of festival, Dada Rub-Up Festival in the 70s.
Yeah, but this song.
Not quite sure about.
Yeah, I think this song was The Time Has Come, was a festival entry, and let's hear the song, right? And we take it from there.
And yes, Richie.
Yeah.
If I never knew before, just listening to that song, I can definitely affirm that it sounds like a festival song.
Yeah, man, it's a festival song. 1967. He had teamed up with these two friends of his from out of the area.
Dudley.
Dudley were named.
Dudley
Davis, and the other one was
Earl Dudley.
Earl Dudley and Louis Davis, right? And so at a time too, where coming out of Jamaicans were as artists and recording artists and performing artists, were trying to capture the same approach to the music that was coming out of North America. It was the era of the groups, quartets or trios and so on. And I guess they jumped in with that thing. The effort was a pretty good effort too.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why they entered that festival song is that they were hoping that some good producers like a Cox and Dada would catch them attention, so to give them some good production.
And they did, because they caught the attention of Joe Gibbs. Now we all know Joe Gibbs, where Joe Gibbs stands for. But they did get Joe Gibbs' attention, and they essentially started to put out some singles with Joe Gibbs over the period. Of course, Gibbs has, beyond some of the issues that have been said about him, but Gibbs was a rising star in the music in that period, 1967, 68, that leading into the early 1970s, and of course, so the music is now changing. 67, 68, we know that was a rough period,
especially
with Rocksteady.
67 and 68.
Yeah, man, Rocksteady
produced some of the most scintillating Rocksteady productions you can think about. Big hits like a John Holt, Alton Ellis.
But not only just John Holt, they talk about the Paragons,
Melodians.
Again, too, because the thing was about the era of groups and Heptones, the techniques, the uniques, and so on. So they were pioneering efforts, if you will, in terms of the development of the music. And again, this was one of the reasons why I wanted us to take a look at his career, because we tend to look just we say Judah Byles and Fade Away,
on the 3 songs,
Curly Locks and things, but
Beat Down
there's a whole heap more, and then we look at just how he was impacting the music. So they went to Joe Gibbs and they started to put out some sides. Again, typical thing for the music coming out of the period. Most of the artists really weren't getting any money. You had a wish that you would make some strides in the industry as a recording artist. You can boss, if you will, to use.
And part of that reason too is that at the time, everybody just wanted to produce music and hear themselves on the radio. No one really knew the business side of the music and the fact that a lot of money could be made through royalties and all of that stuff. I think at the time the most Jamaican artists, the singers and musicians made was when they actually toured England or Europe or something like that. But apart from that, they never really saw much money. And producers at the time too just paid you for that session.
Them gave money for the session. The other thing too, if you look on a lot of the labels, because as we're putting the material together, and you look at the labels coming out with some of the songs, in particular the songs he did with Joe Gibbs, it basically said Joe Gibbs wrote the song with, right? If you look on the record and the way it was represented, so you can imagine that the money no make.
And interestingly, one of the first songs that they did with Joe Gibbs was "You Just Can't Win." That's so ironical. Just Can't Win and Trust the Book. Those are some of the early songs, and another one called Push It In.
Long time. Push It In was a kind of a risky song. I think they were attempting to use that as an entry for not a festival song. Never go nowhere.
Well, it was innocuous and ambiguous.
They pushed it out.
But I'm just going to let you hear You Just Can't Win, Trust the Book, and of course,
long.
Push It In. So I'm going to play those 3 songs and come right back to the story of Junior Byles. And this is his production with the Versatiles under the Joe Gibbs studio. Oh, when they push it in and take it out.
Listen, apparently they were trying to They were contemplating entire that song.
They were just happy with the fact that the time has come, and then them realized them have to push it in, but the man them said no entry for this song.
The festival man them no boss. This can't work. But so this again, the effect of or the product of the relationship with Joe Gibbs. They, as I said, their relationship lasted for just about 2 years,
Yeah.
And you know, for the same reason that most of the artists tend to jump from producer, so studio to studio, no money now run, and I think at the time too, Scratch Perry had
Extricated himself from the
Joe
grips
Gibbs.
of Coxsone.
Yeah, no, he had gone from Coxsone to Joe Gibbs.
Okay.
And that never worked out either. So Scratch decided to, put out his own shingle as well. And of course, the Versatiles decided to do some work with Scratch Perry. And again, in the same rocksteady early reggae vein. Scratch, of course, with his own touch, and you kind of notice the differences with the music once Scratch put him, his own imprint on it. But he did some work with Scratch Perry. A couple of songs, Trust the Book, Just Can't Win. Long time.
Long time was with Joe Gibbs.
It was with Joe Gibbs.
And then with Scratch they did songs like Children Get Ready and Teardrops Falling, amongst a couple of that. They also did a cut with Tommy McCook and Supersonics, of course, Studio One, I Love You Baby. And then he had one of his early reggae recordings in 1970 under the name
Chubby.
King Chubby.
Yeah, King Chubby.
But let me go with the last Joe Gibbs recording, long time, Children Get Ready and Teardrops Falling under the so first long time with Joe Gibbs, and then the next two, Children Get Ready and Teardrops Falling under the auspices of
Scratch Perry.
Alright, and that was Teardrops Falling. Before that you heard Children Get Ready, and of course the Joe Gibbs production, long time.
They again, the move from one studio to the next. The music is still, trying to kind of find its footing. Byles, well, the group, the Versatiles, again trying to find the best mix. I think they did some work with Duke Reed as well. But you can kind of pick up the distinctive shift as the sound of the music as it moved from one studio to the next. And eventually they almost redid the circle, went back to Joe Gibbs, and for the same reason, if you don't learn the first time, within a couple of months that fall through. Again, artists just trying to essentially find them way, and by 1969 into 1970s period too, the Jamaica is getting rougher from just a survival standpoint, and what you start to see is a little bit is more of the music now reflecting the times, and this is kind of where Junior Byles made a significant difference and to almost take a lead role in using his music as commentary, if you will. You never have nothing for the Duke Reed thing, right?
I Love You My Baby, that was with Tommy McCook and Supersonics.
Yeah.
And of course the production under King Chubby, What's the World Coming to demonstration, which means that this time now he's coming to that consciousness of what is happening around him.
Absolutely.
And writing songs. And then of course the festival song, first festival song as a solo under his album Babylon was Festival Dada, and that was in 1972. 71 was Rub Up Festival. that he did that with the Upsetters. That's under
Scotchberry.
Scotchberry.
Right.
So he had 2 more festival song entries, one in 71, one in 72, and then he had I Love You, My Baby with under Duke Reed, which would be Tommy McCook and Supersonics. And then his first outing as King Chubby when he left the Versatiles before, going back to his name, his government name, Junior Byles, or Kenneth Byles Jr., but Junior Byles. So let me play those 2 songs and we'll get into the festival songs. So I'm going to play 4 songs. And then he had a big hit, Richie. Well, it wasn't a big hit. It was a hit in 1971, but later on it became a really big hit. And a lot of people don't remember this song. And it's a song called A Place Called Africa.
Oh my
God. But let me play those 4 songs first before we get into that hit song. Even though at the time I was about 7 years old, but this song I remember. Just the chorus line. I don't remember about the lyrics.
No,
the chorus line, that little hook catching at the da.
This song came second that year, 1971 festival.
1972 song. Actually. 71 was a Rub-Up Festival where my man wanted
71,
fat and juicy.
Right. But he came second with the song.
Festival Dada, that's the name of the song.
I think by this time now, the place, as we said, the social transformation, Jamaica under pressure. Most of these youngsters can't find nothing to do. The music is where they're looking for opportunities. And some made it to say that Byles got the attention of the public. Whether you want the festival thing, first of all, he found his footing with this particular song when having come second. Granted, nobody don't really remember who come second with festival song. He remember who win.
The winners.
Right.
The interesting thing to Richard though is when you're in the eyes of the people, 1972, because that's a good thing about the festival music at the time, was the street dances that happened right across the country. And the people who have entered festival get a chance to tour the whole country and go into some small districts that normally wouldn't go. Instead of going to like Kingston, Spanish Town, Port Maria, Montego Bay, Port Antonio, et al., you go into the places like a Christiana, a Colville, a Spaldings, a Vere. You get to go to all these other, major little towns.
I notice you only call the Central Jamaica town because you're around man from Manchester. I want to Port Antonio.
But I did say Port Antonio, sir. Yes. But you get to go to a Manchineal, and you get to go to a Port Morant, rather than go to Morant Bay and like a Yallas. And all of these little towns
Port
had a
Maria.
square. Yeah, they had a town square. Yeah.
But the fact though is the festival thing, as you rightly pointed out, it provided exposure, and at a time when people listen to music either from the jukebox, as you always talk about, or radio. By now,
because not everybody had light and not everybody had a TV.
Absolutely, and the transistor radio was the lick. Just like how everybody now have cell phone, in those days.
Yes, man.
Everybody have a transistor
especially
radio.
Cricket time.
Right.
Because I'm under them transistor radio.
Absolutely.
Hold to in ears and you see the antenna up.
Absolutely.
Like we were aliens with antennas.
So that's where the exposure came from. And by now, Junior Byles or Chubby Byles is, above the radar, if you will. The people now know him. And so he was now looking, kind of heading into, he was a Rasta man from early.
Yes, and it became very evident in the next song I'm going to play, which was a Scotchberry Upsetters production and his Beat Down Babylon album, a song called A Place Called Africa. And this is his first, in my opinion, his first hit.
Wicked tune.
There's a place called Africa far, far away.
1971-72. Yes.
Under the auspices of Scotchberry.
Yeah, man. Who was the band? The Upsetters play, which would have included the likes of a Family Man and the Barrett brothers, among others. But again, this is kind of pointing in the direction. Two things that come out of that distinguish reggae music is the messaging on the one hand. It was always and the influence, the Garveyism, the influence of a Marcus Garvey and Garvey's message.
Africa as a central theme, recognizing the fact that you're a very strong black man, you're an African.
At the same time, too, God, there was the persecution, because the persecution from the day Rasta come out of the egg in Jamaica in the early 1930s, the system was always against them. In fact, I suspect that stemmed from the fact that most Rastaman basically say for them king is Emperor Haile Selassie. And so no Rastaman now bow to no King of England or no Queen of England kind of thing, which is again anti the whole socio-political and colonial structure. And of course the police, who are the agents of the state, basically
Babylon.
Yeah, man. And so this is where his lyrics is now pointing to the Babylon system, and he's saying, which is the next big tune that came out of his pen was, "I'm gonna beat down Babylon." Well, there were some other songs, because this was the period of the kind of political transformation.
And transformation, I was thinking.
The JLP was still the government.
Hugh Lawson Shearer was prime minister.
Absolutely, and the Michael Manley had come into the fray now, taking over the leadership of the PNP, and the country was heading towards election. And of course, here is where the political parties, the whole idea of political parties grabbing onto the messaging from certain songs. I think to a large extent, some of the songs that he wrote was kind of pointing directly at the political characters of the day. Fear or Hiding, which was a song aimed at Hugh Shearer.
Yeah, there's a couple of songs, if you think about Trial and Crosses, because all of these were written in 1972. Trial and Crosses, King of Babylon, Black Crisis,
Joshua's
Heart
Desire.
and Soul, Joshua's Desire,
Yeah.
Fear or Hiding, Hail to Power, which is what Michael Mann at the time was about power. And that was where the whole fist thing came into play. Right? And then you have, of course, Beat Down Babylon. But let's play a couple of those songs, Richie. Fear of Hiding, which basically Fear at the time was referring to Hugh Shearer,
who was Prime Minister of Jamaica at the time.
And Fear of Hiding, Hail to Power. Then there was Joshua's Desire, talking about, because Michael Manley was supposed to be leading the people to the promised land. Hence,
so Joshua, the name Joshua.
From a biblical perspective. And Black Crisis and King of Babylon. But before I even go into that, let's play Trial and Crosses, because Trial and Crosses is talking about the disconnect the Jamaican people were having at the time when they weren't getting that help that they thought
there was no representation.
The government was going to give to them.
No representation of the people.
Them time when you go to the bank, 1972, there were no black people in the bank. It was either white or very brown.
This might cause a revolution. Let me tell you something.
Beat Down Babylon. 1972, before that you heard Heart and Soul out of Joe Gibbs production, and before that again, Joshua's Desire, Black Crisis, King of Babylon, I remember that one, and then Fear of Hiding, Hail to Power, Trial and Crosses.
Now, a couple of things.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 songs.
And most of those songs, most people would not connect with Junior Byles, but a couple of points. Byles was a serious provocateur at the time in terms of his, using his music and his talent to poke commentary, critique of the sitting Jamaican administration at the time, which would have been the 1971 up to 72 was still the Jamaica Labour Party and the Shearer government, which one of the most negative period of our social and political development because of the tendency on the part of the administration to try to silence detractors, the banning of certain songs, books, etc. And you know, these guys were not afraid.
The reason I laugh, Richie, is that the man banned all of the books that don't have anything to do with blackness.
Black
I mean,
beauty,
and it was
and
such
all
a
them
stupid thing. You black a book about a horse called Black Beauty. I mean, that's amazing.
And so, which takes you back to one of the songs that Byles have done. When you talk about black is best, that kind of thing, because this was him putting it back on the administration at the time. It basically called out the folly that they were operating with, and then when Manley came to the fore and his own popularity started to shine, he basically offered a contrast between the two different the two political leaders, and it helped in terms of the elevation of the PNP at the time versus the Jamaica Labour Party.
Also goes to show you the power of music.
Absolutely. In fact, this was that period when the political party grabbed hold of the music and used it as part of their own campaigning. By of course, we went to election subsequently, and the PNP won, a landslide victory, sweep out. In fact, I was at in third farm over KC at the time, and I remember the day after election, because school was still in session, but I think school over by half day because you couldn't get no bus. All of the JOS bus them pack up out of the PNP headquarters was on South Camp Road, just below Sabina Park. And when you see people on top of the bus with them broom because they sweep out the labor right them out, that thing, I'll never forget it. That's the kind of impact. And the music, because of course every little van used to have some Morris van with some loudspeaker, and every man play some sort of junior by sing Beat Down Babylon. If you go back to the same song with the whip, with
Beat Down Babylon.
And this is Scratch Perry introducing these sound effects into the music, which again was attention grabbing. Scratch wasn't afraid. The whip was a representation of just how scurrilous the government is, or them keep down and beat poor people, and this was Scratch Perry's way, and Byles' interpretation of the or putting meaning to that concept, if you will. So we know in this political vein, there was a marked rising social and political consciousness among most of the youth. Because I tell you, I was in third farm heading into fourth farm by this time, and you could not help but be part of the discourse at the time.
You get caught up in that. It's you get caught up because of the whole campaigning effort. It was done so much at the grassroots level.
It was a grassroots
All
campaign.
of the retainer walls along the road was painted with PNP and JLP slogans. Every billboards, shop pieces, everything was utilized. And then there were all the meetings that used to be kept, all the campaigning meetings in the major towns where the local government electorate would come up and have speeches, councillors,